The following program is brought to you by Jack Miller.
It's Down to Business with Jack Miller. Forget what they teach you in school. This is real life, not Wall Street, but Main Street. A real show on what's really involved with starting and running a business with all the ups and downs. Our guests will answer your questions and provide you with valuable information. Stay tuned and join in the conversation.
Anyway, with that, let's bring in Kevin Johnson. Kevin, you there?
I'm there. How you doing, Jack?
Hey, Kevin, thank you for taking your time out of your busy day. I know you're a superstar, a rock star. Todd and I and all of South Florida and America are glad you're here. So I appreciate it, Kevin.
Thank you for having me on the show today.
My pleasure. Kevin, why don't you start? We have to take a commercial break in 2-3 minutes, but why don't you start by giving us some of your background? Then when we come back from the break, we'll get into some of the good questions.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and I live in South Florida. I reside here in South Florida, and I have my own business. It's called Johnson Management Group, and we manage professional athletes. And our mission is to personalize for you. So we work with a lot of athletes from the NBA to the NFL to track Olympians, different sports genres, and our job is to put together a portfolio for our clients so that they can be able to succeed not only through their playing career, but their post-career while they're finished playing their particular sport.
And how did you get involved with this? It's kind of I assume you don't go to college. It's not like being an accountant. So how did you, or a lawyer, how did you kind of find your niche within that profession?
Well, I found my niche with this at about 8 to 10 years ago. I started my own management company at that time, and it started from doing a lot of community engagement activities with a lot of NBA players. I used to run basketball camps at a Broward College here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and every summer I would have different guest speakers that would come in and speak to the kids about different things, about discipline, about education, about giving back to the community, and I foster those relationships with those professional athletes. It was with Tim Hardaway, Keon Dooling, Udonis Haslam. This was about 8 years ago that these guys were coming out to the camp that I was running for years. And then I started to do work with them in regards to community engagement. And it branched. It started in 2008, and it started to be a service that was needed, a management service that was needed. I know you hear a lot of things about in the media about negative things about professional athletes, but you never hear about the positive things that they do for their community, that they do in regards to, like, for example, LeBron James just did a partnership with Akron, the University of Akron, to $89 million in regards to scholarships. And so my job is kind of to personify or to put together a portfolio for these players to be able to not only give back to their community, but to build their brand, to build their market, and to help them be a mentor within their community by giving back and branding themselves.
Kevin,
so that is.
I don't mean to interrupt. We got to take a commercial break, but when we come back, I want to hear more about it because it sounds like you guys and the athletes are doing tremendous good for the community. And I think people think the athletes just take all their money and do nothing with it. And it sounds like you're putting a different spin on it. So bear with us for 2-3 minutes.
Welcome back to It's Down to Business with Jack Miller. Call us at 305-541-2350. Follow us on Facebook at Jack Miller Down to Business or on Twitter at HJackMiller1.
Hey, Kevin, sorry to interrupt you before. I want to continue that line if that's okay, because it sounds like to me, at least my perception before talking to you, was a lot of the athletes get bad reps between the womenizing and the drugs and things like that. But you're telling me that a lot of them are doing a lot of good for the community.
Yeah, a lot of them do. A lot of them are doing very well for the community in regards to giving back and being a positive influence. Despite what you see on the TV all the time about substance abuse and fighting and these different type of things, there are a lot of positives that a lot of people do not hear that is not on TV.
Well, I guess the positive things, like anything else, aren't sensational. They don't sell news. But if an athlete, gets involved with drugs or a fight or a scuffle, that sells news. So that's probably why we're hearing about it.
Correct.
Gotcha. So
Correct.
what type of things, like what kind of community involvement, what type of things are you doing for the athletes, and what are they giving? And I realize it's on a case by case basis. What are they doing for the community?
Well, like for various of players that I've done work with in regards to working with different nonprofit organizations in regards to giving back if there's a cause, or if I have a client, for example, that maybe has a passion for cancer patients and want to help the cure for cancer, we sit down and have a strategic plan on how we go about that passion or that purpose for that client, and being able to not only maximize what they are trying to accomplish, but to make sure that it gets, that their mission on the reason on why they're doing that particular topic it's a well-being for them.
Well, I would imagine a lot of these athletes can raise a ton of money for different community causes because of their name recognition.
Correct.
That's pretty cool. How much of what you do, out of curiosity, is to prepare them for after their career? Whether it be, I don't know what the average age that these guys retire is, but it's young. So I would imagine they need to save their money and they need to do something. So how much of what you do and what do you do to prepare them for that?
Now, what we do, we sit down and we sit down and strategize, and we work as a team. Every client they have an agent, they have a financial advisor, they have a publicist, and as a manager, this is where Johnson Management comes in. We come in as their manager to not only just to be a liaison from what the client would like. So we oversee the different financial advisors, the agent, the publicist, the marketing consultant, and what we do, we sit down as a team and we collaborate on how can we best service the client. And with that being said, we sit down and meeting, we strategize along with the client and what are their mission, what are their goals, what do they project to do when they're out or when they're retired from playing professional sports. As you may know, for the NFL, it's about 3 years. NBA is about 4.5 years before they, where they retire. So a lot of these guys may not see the second contract, 7 or 10 years in playing professional sports, and we have to have something in place where we are able to help them to subside that money that they're going to receive in that little bit of time, but to help them establish that so they can be able to take care of their family and take care of them for the rest of their life.
Gotcha.
So we sit down and we try to come up with a strategic plan in regards to what would be the best way to help them save their money.
First of all, I have to tell you that my wife just sent me a text, and it says, remember, I don't know anything about sports, so I shouldn't say anything stupid. So, Kevin, if I say anything really stupid, you can interrupt me, because I'm like the weirdest guy in America. I don't follow sports. In fact, the only sports I go to is when we're from Philadelphia, and when any of the Philadelphia teams are in town, my wife and a couple of my kids like it, so we go to those. So I'm a total moron with this. But let me ask you, how much of you, I'm picturing, from what I'm picturing, what I see on the news, and I'm picturing these athletes have a lot of, I don't want to use the word leeches, but everyone, when they make it big, everyone wants a piece of them. So I would assume is like part of what you do, keeping some of these bad influences away from them?
Correct. And as management, that's another main priority on our job, on our list, is to you minimize your circle. Because when you do make it big and you make it to the league, everybody has their hand outreach and they want this. They, family that you've probably never seen before, that now because they want something. And so, a lot of there are things in place for players when they get into the league in regards to their players, the professional development for when they get in the league to watch out for these things. But if they don't have a strong management team around them, these things could be able to these players could be able to fall into being attacked by people who are leeching or wanting money or wanting them to embezzle money in different things. So with that being said, it's important to have a strong management team that you are able to trust and that are not. And what I would like to say, Jack, as a management company, we don't make the final decisions on the client's investments, monies, those different type of things. Those are solely up to the financial advisor and the client itself. But what we do, we help the client to make informed decisions. So I look at it as an education. We educate our clients because we want them to make informed decisions. And when you're not educated, you make uninformed decisions. So To put it that way, that's the reason why management is so important.
So you're kind of coordinating all the players, key advisors, their agents, their financial people, their PR people. You're kind of coordinating them, I guess.
Correct. And we help, and when I say coordinated, we don't just pick one person and say, hey, this is who you're going to work with. We may have a list of 3 or 4. We sit down, we meet, we do an interview. We do it just like a process. We interview them. We want the client to feel comfortable. We do background checks. We do those different types of things just to make sure that our client we're making the best decision together as a team, and because we want to have the client's best interest.
Now, what about keeping the women away? How much of that, is real? I'm picturing, I'm a married guy for 29 years, so I'm crazy with this stuff. But how much of your job is keeping the women away? And really, my follow-up question is, when you keep the women away, is there any way you can divert them to me? No, I'm joking.
Your wife will kill me, but
no, I'm just teasing around. My wife may say, "Oh my God, thank God, get them away from me." No, I'm teasing.
In regards to diversion, that's a very hard topic. I mean, a lot of guys, they like to go out in the club scene and like to do a lot of different things, and you become a target. You become a target because you want to do those different type of things, and they're young. When you think about it, they're 18. Well, not 18. They're 20. Some are 18. 19, 20-year-olds that are receiving millions of dollars, so their behaviors may be totally different, and they don't understand that they become a target early. So a lot of things happen to a lot of professional athletes because they do not have a strong circle or a positive influence around them to protect them from those different type of things. So in regards to the women, they're around, and it's very hard. We come into situations where you have to, we have to inform the client of different things because they don't understand that they have to protect themselves at all times.
But, look, from their point of view, they're 20-year-old guys full of testosterone. Beautiful women are throwing themselves at you. That's a tough thing to say no to, I would imagine. Todd, I know you deal with that all the time, Todd.
I mean, it's not easy.
Yeah,
it's definitely not easy.
Yeah.
But I have a couple questions. I mean, the competition, just as a guy who loves sports, I've loved sports since I was growing up, and I know that just wanting the proximity to your idols, to all the athletes, that's a constant probably, desire for most guys when they're growing up. And then, when you realize that you're not going to make it as an athlete yourself, and you want to still maintain that proximity, a lot of guys want to go into become an agent or become a manager or a financial advisor for the athletes. And, there must be incredible competition for those type of jobs. So, what is it like from your perspective, and how do you sort of get more clients in that kind of competitive atmosphere?
Yeah, it's very, and even I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's very competitive, especially when there's only a limited professional jobs in regards to being a commentator, on a certain network, on the ESPN network. There's only a limited spaces. So, in regards to management, our jobs are to sit down and see strategically what would our clients like to do prior to them leaving, their professional sport, and we take down about 3 to 5 different areas. And what we start to do is every summer we start to put them, even if it's opportunity for them to do like an internship or be able to sit down and watch someone who's a specialist in that particular field. It may be in a financial field. It may be, they may want to be something in regards to working with player development at the collegiate level, or doing it at the or doing it for a professional team level. But what we do, we try to sit down and write down those different things that are of interest to them so that we can be able to start doing those things and not waiting. A lot of professional athletes, they wait. So what ends up happening, they don't know when they're going to retire and when they stop playing. But because they failed to plan, they plan to fail. So a lot of players, they start to suffer with depression, and they go through a different type of anxiety because they're not playing professional sports anymore, and they don't know what is the next step. When you have a guy who's played a professional sport from 5 to 10 years, and they've been getting up every morning at 7 a.m., it's been routine to the point where when they retire, they're not doing it anymore. Then it becomes an anxiety, trying to get themselves situated with family, taking their kids to school and doing those different type of things, and then what's next during the day. So a lot of guys, they fall into certain different type of behaviors because there's not something that was set in stone or something in place for them to do prior to them retiring.
I imagine it's a tough reinvention. We have to take a break in about 30 seconds, but when we get back, I want to ask you, I want to focus on two questions. One is, how much of your life is like Bowlers, the HBO show? And two, more important, is you have what I think is an inspirational story of how you got to this moment in time and some of the things that you've overcome and how you didn't give up. And I want to focus on not giving up. So with that, stick with us for another few minutes. We'll be back after the commercial break, and we'll talk more to Kevin.